Is Belfast doing it better than Manchester in terms of its new construction and architecture, with smaller skyscrapers and world-class signature architecture? Belfast's new transport hub, how does it compare to the one in Stockport? Concert halls, museums, connections to Dublin and Liverpool, and why was I in Belfast? Belfast Grand Central Station opened in stages during autumn 2024 to much publicity. It was built on empty land just behind the old Europa bus station, close to the site of the old Great Victoria Street railway station. It could also be called an interchange as it brings together buses and trains. In Stockport, 7 miles southeast of Manchester city centre, its interchange opened on St Patrick's Day, the 17th of March 2024. Belfast Grand Central is bigger, and the trains are next to the buses. That wasn't possible in Stockport due to the hilly terrain. 2 state-of-the-art transport interchanges, 174 miles or 280 kilometres apart. Both opened in 2024. Stockport's cost £140 million, Grand Central £340 million. I'm going to make some more comparisons across the water and across the island of Ireland. Unlike Stockport Interchange, Belfast Grand Central has no residential tower or park on its roof, but it will have a large new open area in front of it. They're still working on that, but there's been a problem. More about that later. I arrived by bus from Belfast International Airport, Aldergrove, BFS, early on the morning of the 13th of November 2024, and I was impressed by the scale and architectural impact of the recently opened Grand Central Station. A sign says welcome in various languages, Fáilte in Irish, Fair Faí in Ulster Scots. One difference between the two parts of Ireland is that in Northern Ireland, the Irish language is not generally seen on official signage. There were calls to include the Irish language at Grand Central, but full bilingual signage, as we see in Wales, would require resources and commitment. You could just have a symbolic Fáilte under the name, as in Scotland. There's a wide concourse with upper levels closed today, gates to the buses, station platforms just round the corner, large information boards and lots of security staff, ticket machines, and a constant stream of people making their way towards the city centre. The area outside the doors is currently fenced off. I like the murals and artwork, and that girl, she has a very Irish face. In the morning, with the light coming from the east, the windows and pillars look very photogenic. The name Sydenham makes you think you're in southeast London, but it's a district of East Belfast. Most place names in all parts of Ireland originate in the Irish language. Belfast or Béal Feiriste means mouth of the River Farset, which flows into the Lagan. The bold lines of the roof and windows leave a wide open concourse interspersed with round pillars that remind me of Dublin's bus station, Busaras, opened 71 years earlier in 1953. That too was game-changing. You can travel from here by train or by bus to Dublin, to many parts of Northern Ireland and the Republic beyond, and there are frequent bus connections to Glasgow. It's the largest interchange of its type on the island of Ireland. Originally it was called the Belfast Transport Hub, but it said they chose Grand Central to reflect its high ambitions, echoing the famous terminal in New York, as well as including the word grand, used colloquially all over Ireland. That's grand, they say in the south, that's grand in the north. It's a bit confusing though, as there is a Grand Central Hotel located a short distance away. We'll have a quick look at that later. These are some of the buses to be seen at the stands. TransLink is the publicly owned transport corporation for Northern Ireland. Regarding the open area in front of the terminal, there was, and still is, a problem, which we'll return to. But soon it was time to take a taxi from a nearby street, which is a couple of minutes walk away, to the hotel. Our friendly taxi driver told us some interesting stories along the way, using some choice language delivered in a feisty Belfast accent. I can definitely recommend the Harrison Chambers of Distinction on the Malone Road in the south of the city by the university, an area with a strong Victorian character and magnificent architecture. I could go on at length about Belfast's superb architecture and tourist attractions like the City Hall, the Ulster Hall, and all the interesting buildings you see as you walk around, for instance St Malachy's Church, and this quaint old building on Little May Street looks like it was converted. But in the words of YouTuber The Tim Traveller, we're not interested in that. On the Aiden Eyewitness channel, we're interested in modern buildings, new construction, cranes, nondescript concrete hulks. Okay, not just those, but You know what I mean. So let me take you on a walk I took the next day, starting from the city centre, ending at Belfast City Airport for my flight back to home base, Manchester Airport. That tall building is the aforementioned Grand Central Hotel, 93 metres tall with the radio mast and roof structures, 80 metres without. It shares the title of tallest building in Belfast with the Obel Residential Tower, 85 metres. The most famous hotel is the Europa, 51 metres, 167 feet, said to be the most bombed hotel during the Troubles, now amongst the most expensive. A short walk away is the Waterfront Hall, Robinson McIlwain Architects. A showcase of contemporary architecture opened in 1997, shortly after Manchester's Bridgewater Hall was opened in late 1996. Also located next to water, a newly created canal branch. The Waterfront Hall was a major addition to Belfast. Looking from above, we see it's almost perfectly round. Actually, I thought it was oval. The auditorium is based on the Berlin Philharmonic Hall designed by Hans Scharoun. It's won a large number of awards, the British Urban Regeneration Association Best Practice Award, as well as the Regional Award from the Royal Institute of Architects in Ireland, and many more. The cost, £32 million. Number of seats, 2,241. Manchester's Bridgewater Hall cost £42 million and can seat 2,355 people. It has impressive acoustics. The entire hall sits on springs. But I've heard people criticise its appearance, saying it is an opportunity missed. It won the Reba Northwest Award and Civic Trust Special Award. Not as many awards as the Waterfront Hall in Belfast. Does that matter? I don't think so. We are now next to the River Lagan, walking along Belfast's waterfront with the Angel of Harmony looking across by Queen's Bridge, which carries the A2. And in the distance, that tall tower is the 86-metre Obel Tower. This area has seen lots of development. There are some great photos on the information board showcasing the work of the Laganside Corporation, which, like the Central Manchester Development Corporation, started off the regeneration of the waterside area. People often complain that modern buildings are just soulless boxes with no character, but perhaps that is not the case with this tower, which has a distinctive design. It's called The Boat, 57 metres, 14 stories, designed by Todd Architects. This view on the Todd website shows that even not so tall buildings provide great views over the city. The weather was cloudy on the day of my visit, but as always, we just have to make the best of it. So when people complain about ugly rectangular boxes, would they prefer a building like this, with lots of curves, geometrical features, and a similarity to a ship? Another question I'd like to ask, is it better to keep to just a moderate height, as we can see here, not like the towers in Manchester that are going well over 100 metres and reaching up to 200 metres? That's the Royal Mail building, completed in 1973, which once dominated the waterfront before newer buildings appeared in front of it. It impressed me on past visits to Belfast when I was a student at Trinity College Dublin. With its dominant red colour and Royal Mail signage, it seemed like a symbol of Britishness. Meanwhile, in Dublin, the historic General Post Office is a symbol of Irish statehood. I like to uncover these hidden parallels between cities. The Big Fish sculpture captures the history and identity of Belfast on its scales. It's a big attraction. There's the Lagan Bridge carrying the M3, and in the distance, that's where the Liverpool ferries dock, connecting these two cities on either side of the water. Right next to it, the railway bridge with trains that curve round from Grand Central heading north and west. And there's the Obel Tower, the tallest storied building on the island of Ireland. 28 floors, 85 metres. The tallest in Dublin is the nondescript Capitol Dock, 79 metres. Wikipedia states that the name Obel Tower derives from obelisk and Old Belfast. It contains 233 apartments. The first 182 were released in March 2005, priced from £100,000 to £475,000. It's reported they were reserved off-plan within 48 hours. Interesting. On the propertypal.com website in early February 2025, I saw 2-bedroomed apartments for sale in the Obel Tower at £180,000, £205,000 and £220,000. Makes me wonder how well Manchester's new apartments will hold their value after 20 years. And the Obel Tower had some funding problems, linked to Wikipedia below. It looks quite similar to Liverpool's Beetham Tower, which was completed in 2004. Obel was completed in 2011 and was designed by Broadway Malian and Chris Marshall. Broadway Malian designed Liverpool's Man Island buildings. City Quays is a development area on the city side of the Lagan, and there's lots of construction work going on with new buildings planned. In early 2024, Belfast City Council approved a new development of nearly 700 apartments across 4 schemes, including this 23-storey tower with 256 rental apartments. It's described as one of the tallest residential towers on the island of Ireland, but the height is just 76.4 metres. It has 23 stories. I say just because in Manchester we've become so used to much higher proposals. But is smaller better than taller? Many people comment that Manchester's towers are too tall, although others say that they're not tall enough. And what about the design? Fabulous contemporary building or faceless corporate blandness? Or somewhere in between. We look across the River Lagan, and what's that complex under construction? We'll find out in a while. But at this point, I just needed to tell you why I was in Belfast. Well, I'm part of the team that helped Eric Bell, guitarist and co-founder of Thin Lizzy, to record 3 solo albums. I did the photography and sleeve layout for his albums Exile and Standing at a Bus Stop, recorded in Cheshire. Those are the photos I took of Eric standing on Alderley Edge. Actually, no, it's a montage. I took the photo in the studio and used an existing photo of the view from Stormy Point on Alderley Edge. On the 13th of October 2024, we flew to Belfast to see Eric perform at the Ulster Hall and receive a Legend Award for his services to music. There's me on a previous visit in front of the mural in East Belfast, where he grew up. Like Phil Lynott, he too has connections to Manchester. His latest album was recorded at his studio in Clitheroe, Lancashire, to the north of Manchester. My dusk photo of nearby Pendle Hill from 2004 is used in the artwork. It was a great honour to work with Eric Bell and exciting to see him on stage at the BBC Radio Ulster event with up-and-coming local artists. So many thanks to legendary guitarist and childhood hero of mine, Eric Bell. And now back to construction. We are now on the other side of the Lagan, and we can see that the quayside area is developing further, but as we can see there are no 100 or 200 metre plus skyscrapers here. Again, I ask the question, is it better to keep to lower heights, or should Belfast be reaching above 100 and 200 metres or 700 feet, as in Manchester? This new development next to the marina and the Titanic Museum is not tall, but it looks very impressive. On my visit in 2016, this area was empty, but now it's the scene of massive construction. This is a new development named the Loft Lines. It will offer a mixture of dwellings, a great location next to the water, and it's not far from the centre. It's an all-rental development. It's all run by one management company, not private landlords, and they say that all the services will be on-site, with lots of support and lots of things included for people renting. It's a shame these buildings partly cover the view of the Titanic Museum as you approach from the west. The Titanic Museum is a must-see, even if you only get to see the exterior. It's a celebration of the maritime and shipbuilding heritage of Belfast, as well as the ill-fated transatlantic liner. That's another powerful connection with Liverpool. The museum was designed by US-British architect Eric Cooner, who sadly died in 2016. At least he has left an impressive legacy that will stand the test of time. When people say Manchester needs a signature building, well, I think this is a signature building. Its design recalls the prow of a ship, actually 4 ships, pointing in all 4 directions. It's visually captivating from all angles. I love those small jewel-like windows and its asymmetry. Even on a cloudy day like today, it looks impressive. As I like to do, I often switch to monochrome in cloudy weather just to emphasise the forms. We can compare it to the Imperial War Museum North on Trafford Wharf, part of Greater Manchester's The Quays, not to be confused with the Quays development in the city of Newry, south of Belfast. Titanic Belfast was opened on the 31st of March 2012, IWM North almost 10 years earlier in July 2002. Titanic received a Theo Award for Outstanding Achievement and was named World's Leading Tourist Attraction at the World Travel Awards. IWM North was designed by Daniel Liebeskind and won the Building Award in the 2003 British Construction Industry Awards and was shortlisted for the 2004 Sterling Prize. According to recent figures, Titanic received 800,000 annual visitors, IWM North around 245,000. But on a list of the top 50 most visited museums in the UK, the London museums are at the top. Titanic Belfast is number 43, and there are none in Manchester and Liverpool on the list. So, is Belfast doing it better? And at this point, let's just flash back to Grand Central and that slight problem concerning a bridge directly in front of the station. It's called the Boyne Bridge and was built to span the railway line as it entered Great Victoria Street railway station. The station and its tracks were removed. It became a bridge over nothing, and so it was decided to demolish it, work starting late 2024. But the citizens of the Sandy Row area next door objected as they said it was historically significant for them. It has connections to King William III, William of Orange, who, tradition holds, crossed an earlier bridge over a river close to here on his way to the Battle of the Boyne in 1690. The present bridge dates from 1936, replacing an earlier one built to cross the Belfast to Lisburn railway line in 1863. After protests and legal challenges, demolition was paused during Christmas and New Year, but resumed in early 2025. Should it have been kept as local citizens wanted, or was it right to demolish it, allowing the open space to be developed properly? And so, after saying farewell to Titanic Belfast, I continued my long walk across the empty former Docklands area, building up my daily steps, and I passed the two gigantic cranes which have become a potent symbol of the city. Like Gustav Wilhelm Wolff, co-founder of shipyard Harland and Wolff, they are from Germany. The first crane arrived in 1969, the second in 1975, and they're called Samson and Goliath. Today, they are no longer in use, but they have been given protected status. This reminds me of two iconic post-industrial structures in Dublin, the gigantic Poolbeg chimneys, 207 metres tall. The power station they belong to was closed, but they are so iconic, they've been retained. And so it is with Belfast's two cranes, Samson and Goliath. It wouldn't be the same city without them. Maybe they'll come back into use. Harland and Wolff, like many traditional companies, has diversified into new areas, including renewable energy. Recently bought by Spanish company Navantia, its future is now said to be secure. I continued my very, very long walk, just like the Tim Traveller, along Airport Road through Victoria Park, which is surrounded by water on three sides and is close to the airport. It has a view of this, I think, very beautiful industrial building. You don't think so? Oh well, never mind. Then the final stretch was along Sydenham Road, before finally arriving at George Best's Belfast City Airport, BHD. George Best, another connection with Manchester. I clocked up 18,526 steps. Belfast is a great city with a truly unique history. Lots of tradition, an infectious attitude and accent, jovial taxi drivers, great museums and attractions, cool bars and restaurants, plenty of shopping, and most of all, great architecture. Both old and new. I'll be back. Well, that was my trip to Belfast, just about to board Aer Lingus 3618 to Manchester. So, vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und auf Wiedersehen in Belfast.